being able to then see from our sixth chakra clairvoyant self, say about our emotions and all that kind of stuff, it's so freeing, and it's really where we're all headed. We are in the seat of our seniority. It's ours.
Yeah.
And we get to be aware of that.
Yeah, when we're operating from our spirit self, we're in charge.
We might then feel we are the victim of all this stuff. It is out of our control and we are disempowered.
Yeah. And then we battle that energy rather than just making a decision and letting it go. Welcome. Hello, this is the Higher Vibe podcast. I'm your host, Jean Rorda. And we are having conversations with psychic friends. Today I have with me Stephanie Ike. She is a clairvoyant reader and healer and teaches meditation and spiritual tools. Hello and welcome, Stephanie.
Hi, great to be here.
Yay! So glad you're here.
Me too.
I have to preemptively let everyone know that Stephanie and she is a fellow laugher, so there might be a couple of laugh tracks. So if you like to giggle, you're in the right place. But we've promised to use words today.
We will do our best. Making words.
Oh, making words. One of the things Stephanie and I were chatting about earlier was how we teach spiritual tools and how sometimes even the words for that, spiritual tools, sounds awkward because we use the word tools for something physical. So you're thinking of the, like, what were you doing? The sign of the, the, like,
jackhammers.
Jackhammer, that's the word.
See? We are making words.
And the wrench. Yeah, so in our minds, spiritual tools is like, okay, a little more physically oriented. There's effort involved, right? The word tools to me has that connotation of effort. And really, in meditation and in doing your inner spiritual, quote, work, see, already there's another word that has that effort built into it. There is no effort. It's not a space of effort. It's a space that if you exert force or create effort in, it actually has the opposite effect of what you're intending or wanting to create. So
yes.
Yeah, we were hoping to come up with some different words.
You know, as you were talking about it, I was like, are they spiritual touchstones, or is it kind of like a map when you drive in your car and you get lost? Remember the days when there were maps?
Right, and you had to break out your little piece of paper.
Break out your that's sort of how I wonder if that's how, when we were introduced to the term spiritual tools, but it's really providing a touchstone moment.
Yeah.
When you get lost and you're kind of feeling like, what's happening here? It's a place to touch in and go, oh yeah, well, something I can do to reorient myself to my spiritual nature in this body is to say ground or fill in or whatever tool of the moment.
Right. They are their touchstones. And I love the image of a map. They're like familiar places on the map that you return to reorient yourself.
Yes.
To recenter, to ground, to go, oh yeah, now I know where I am. Now I know how to proceed. Yep. Now I have my full awareness and inspiration and clarity. Yeah.
Yes.
Or like touchstones. And the other thing that we were chatting about is how really in general, once you incorporate these spiritual tools or spiritual touchstones into your life, you're approaching life from a completely different perspective, right? You're oriented to your experience in a body. You're oriented to life in a completely different way. And it informs everything you do. It informs everything, including how you interpret thoughts.
Completely.
Yeah, this is a complete reorientation. And perhaps in the process of learning the tools and reorienting, you might be a little disoriented.
Oh yes, I think it's part of the formula.
Yes. So during that intense growth and reorienting process, there might be some disorienting. Did you have that experience yourself? Do you recall, have you just learned these tools so long ago that you have no memory of
being disoriented?
of your disoriented self.
Oh my gosh, disoriented. Well, I know in our terms we might also refer to it as, say, a growth period. It's that in between zone when you're stuff in your awareness space that maybe your brain isn't even cognizant of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is still coming in for a landing somewhere. What would the programmer call that? Maybe a background computer program in yourself.
Yeah.
As it's currently downloading.
The process is downloading.
Right? That kind of in between place where we have our very fun growth period. And, whether it's a bunch of oopsies, I drop things, I leave the gas hose in the car and drive off. $200 later.
In general, this is not personal examples. Just
oh no, that wasn't a personal
hypothetically
moment.
Speaking.
Hypothetically. Oh, definitely. I also realized that I was with a friend the other day that you've also had on your show here.
Yeah.
And we were laughing because one of the things I also realized that happens to me in these growth periods, the computer is currently downloading. We'll be right back with you, moment.
Yeah.
I call it growth period hearing. You will say something and I will hear it differently, but it's in a funny way. Like to say it to you, did you just say? And it's the funniest thing that wasn't what you said at all, but it's growth period hearing because everything is just coming online and currently adjusting. So it's not quite
wonky.
It's wonka doodles. It's
Yes.
Which is great because in a way that's part of living this intuitive life that's really our nature, where you can't always be in total control of yourself the way you're used to being. And it's okay if you say blue and I thought you said glue or whatever, and then we go from there. It's part of being our vulnerable, in real time, present time selves.
Yeah.
We're
not taking ourselves too seriously,
no.
so to speak, and not taking anything too seriously. But approaching that with amusement, I love it because if you were to have that experience and you were really in that space of control and holding on, which is very serious.
Yes.
That might result in a lot of arguing. I'm just imagining if somebody says something to you and you hear something completely different. And you got upset about it and it turned into this like, I'm right and you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You said glue.
I'm sure you did, and I'm offended by it too, by the way.
Right. You get all defensive about it.
Yeah.
So it's so helpful to have that amusement and that self-awareness of, okay, I'm in that reorienting process. There might be a little disorientation. Is that a word?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. Okay. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Disorientation. Yeah.
And in that disorientation, you can have your awareness of, no, this is just, things are coming online, things are shifting in the brain. I know I'm not hearing things exactly maybe as the person saying them. I can make it a source of amusement rather than having an argument or a battle with everyone.
Absolutely.
Or with yourself, beating yourself up, or, what's wrong with me?
I know. Am I losing it?
Hearing checked.
Wouldn't it be great? Remember, like in high school or whatever, when we'd have to go to orientation? Mm-hmm. What if we had a welcome to disorientation?
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah.
It's all normal, everyone. It's all okay.
Yeah. Here we have brain fog.
Or maybe we just call it reorientation. Yeah. Right.
Right. Reorientation. Brain fog. When you're clearing a lot of unconscious energy, you might feel really stupid.
Yes, indeed.
The fog is indeed lifting, though. Have no fear.
Have no fear. Yes.
It will not stay around forever. The clouds will part and the sun will shine again.
And it might even be a little brighter.
Yes, and it will be.
Colors a little sharper.
Yeah.
Yes, as your spiritual beingness is coming online. Yeah. And really, isn't it that part of us that has thinking we've been driving the car the whole time.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to let go of the wheel. That's
Right.
part of the challenge is wait. You step aside. I still need to hold on to the wheel. I still need
Right.
to know everything. I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to know facts and all the
Yes.
facts to feel safe or
I need
whatever
to
it is.
appear
So,
extremely intelligent.
yes. And maybe for some that's very safe.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so it's such an interesting way to hold all this,
Mm-hmm.
where to allow that shift and that sense of, sometimes I call it the handle that I used to hold on to has disappeared. Like when you're on an amusement ride and there's
Right.
always that's
Something to
that's the
hold on
feeling.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, that old handle, where to go, and to be
Disappear.
okay
Yeah.
in that place as
Yeah.
things are shifting and the awareness is changing
Yeah.
or becoming more online as it always has tried to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love the image of the spiritual self coming online or integrating into the body personality more and taking the driver's seat. And in that process, you might have, it's kind of an amusing image, the former, ego self or body self trying to grab the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. And at times, especially if you're in the midst of that disorientation, it might feel safer, or more familiar to let that former
Yes.
ego self grab the wheel again.
I feel like that's a buddy cop movie that we need to see. Only it's your intuitive self and your ego body self, and they're on a road trip.
Yeah. Well, that would be a great comedy. Such a great comedy. Yeah, because I imagine the ego self just like keeps on trying to kick the intuitive self out of that driver's seat. But the
Right.
intuitive self is so amused and like not stressed about it at all. Just like, oh, aren't you cute?
Aren't you cute? But don't you want to see the map? Don't you want to see?
Yeah.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah. We got this.
We got this. We're going where we're going.
Yeah. Going where we're going.
We're going where we're going.
But I need
You
to
can't
know.
deny it.
I need to know now where that is. And are we there yet? Are we there
Are we
yet?
there yet?
Are we there yet? How many more minutes? How many more minutes? I need a snack.
So good. I need a snack. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's quite something to just imagine living the more intuitive life and what that can be like. And I don't know what your experience is, but certainly a lot of my awareness of, oh, that's what I had been doing in these ways, it was usually retroactive
Right. You notice
recognition.
it after the fact.
Yeah, after the
Yeah.
fact. That's what I've been doing.
Hindsight,
Yes.
2020.
2020, but
Yeah.
it's very informative. Oh yeah, I can remember, I don't know if you've had experiences like this, growing up or whatever, where I knew it, but I could get in trouble
Mm-hmm.
because I thought somebody actually said the thing that they were just telepathing, and I didn't know the difference.
So you were a very telepathic child and they weren't speaking out loud, but you were hearing them. And
No.
then you would respond.
I would respond or I would act accordingly based on the thing they just said.
Right.
And either they were like amazed, well, how did you know that I was going to suggest we go grab this thing over here? And I'm like, well, because you told me.
Yeah.
No,
and
I
they're
didn't.
like, oh, no, I didn't.
Uh-oh. Yeah. So it can make a person start to feel like they're a little weird or a little confused or
Right. It can be very disorienting for the other person.
Right.
If they're not recognizing that telepathy. I love that as a mom, I recognize that with my kids, where either I'll respond to something they're telepathically communicating to me, or they'll respond to something I'm telepathically communicating to them. And because I'm aware of that, I'm like, oh, aren't we cute? And sometimes I will tell one of my sons, who's also just doesn't speak out loud as much. He's quieter, more reserved. And so he does it even more in terms of not recognizing when he'll like say goodbye to his friends telepathically. And I'll be like, you might want to say something out loud. Just if they're not receiving your telepathic goodbye, they might feel like you're a little rude. Like they're leaving and you're just like, on the outside, it looks like he's just completely ignoring them.
Right.
And sometimes I've pointed it out, like, oh, just go say goodbye. And he's like, I did. I'm like, well, I know you did. I'm not sure if they know you did.
But I love that he knows he did.
Right.
That's some of the fun is when you are aware it is happening. Yeah. That's also fun.
Yeah, I think it did get me in trouble as a kid as well. I remember people telling me a lot that I would just stare at them with a really weird look on my face. They called it the Gene look. I would be like,
What do you recall you were doing?
I mean, I think I was just picking up on something that I probably had a little bit of repulsive or judgmental response to. So I had the look of like,
Did you just think that?
Or questioning or like, and it was maybe repulsive more in terms of because the energy was sad more. I think that what I was picking up on telepathically was people's self-judgment and doubt and sadness and like really heavy, like they're in a really heavy, dark place in their own mind about themselves, shame, judgment, guilt, all that fun stuff. And so my face would match that, like, like that pain would show up on my face, but they weren't aware of it. So they would just be like, why are you looking at me like that? And I was like, was I looking at you a certain way? Yeah.
Very telepathic.
The Gene look.
The Gene look. Well, and I imagine in the interior of one's mind, it's even more, strong, forceful, condemning self-talk.
Yeah.
Than what we say out loud. So for the sensitives out there, we are aware of a lot, and sometimes it's hard to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So it's understandable for someone who may be in that in-between place and jostling between, well, it's happening, but I don't like it, but it's happening, but I don't like it, and I'm going to keep body, ego person driving this car for a long time.
Yeah. And then maybe turn that telepathic awareness off because it becomes too painful to hear all those deeply critical self-thoughts going on in our loved ones. Around us.
Yes.
So either turn it off or take responsibility for it,
Right.
Try to cheer everybody up.
Oh, yes. That's a familiar song and dance.
That's a familiar song and dance. Yeah.
Yes, whether it's the telepathic aspect of us or, I can certainly say for me as well, the second chakra feeling awareness of others. And that's its own kind of interesting, confusing.
Oh, yes. The second chakra can be a very confusing place to operate from.
Right. Right. I mean, there's so much input going on there. There's so much messaging, and that's another one of those chakras where we can't tell, is that mine or is that somebody else's, and we don't even know to wonder because we don't know. So all it is a bunch of input.
It's just a lot of feeling, a lot of stuff.
A lot of feeling and a lot of stuff, and when I have taught this to my students, I like the imagery of, say, the metal detector.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like the second chakra has that aspect of, I simply am feeling. What am I detecting? I'm detecting pain. I'm detecting joy. I'm detecting, sadness.
Right.
But we can't tell, especially when we're young, that that's not actually our information that we are detecting. We're just detecting it.
Detecting it. And then as young children, I think anyone 7 or younger, everything you're experiencing is you, right? You haven't, in the developmental stage, you haven't individuated. Everything's you. So if you're feeling it, it's you.
It's happening right here.
Like you are that sad, or you are that, whatever you're detecting. I love that metal detector imagery because, with the metal detector, whatever it's finding in the sand, it's obscured. You don't see it. You're just feeling it. Mm-hmm. It's there.
And it's sometimes it's nice to know that that's what's going on in our space, in our personal equipment.
Yeah. Yep. Bing, bing, bing. Picking up on some sadness over here. Bing, bing, bing.
Right? I mean, how many
people... Picking up on some guilt over here.
some guilt over
Yeah.
here. I mean, and how many people would be able to say, oh, yeah, I know this experience. You walk into a room and you're pretty clear that two people maybe just had an argument.
Right.
You know, your detector is picking stuff up all the time.
Yeah, your detector is pretty much always working. I
Some of it,
don't know that you
yeah,
can turn it off, right? It's very much just on high alert. It's become, especially for empaths, it's become the navigational tool for survival to detect, is this a safe space? You know?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
it's
good
on
point.
high alert. And so part of what you teach, part of what we teach is, having these spiritual tools, these touchstones, we can use the information of the second chakra, what you're detecting, and then, we can raise the vibration of our awareness, see from that clairvoyant space, that claircognizance, you can know it. You can just observe what you're detecting from that higher space of awareness and discern, right? Oh, that's so-and-so's energy.
Right.
And really see all the details of it.
Yes.
Not only so you don't have to hold on to it because it's not yours, but also so that you can help navigate in relating to that person or in letting go of any of that energy that you might have brought into your space in your detecting.
And you're detecting, right. And all of a sudden, if it doesn't, if it's not yours, but you're thinking it's yours, then it kind of alters everything in your own space anyway. And you're trying to make it make sense.
Yeah. You're trying to fix it or
Trying
solve
to
it.
fix it. Yeah. So
Make
I
it
mean,
go away,
I
make it
love what
feel
you're
better.
making it feel better. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, our society's full of ways to try and make that stuff feel better.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of ways we do that with food, with money, with
Right?
gambling, whatever.
All the
Yeah.
things with food, especially when it's the thing that you detected in childhood that you identified with, right? Because especially in childhood, we think everything's ours. If it has been in your energetic space since childhood and you've really brought it in as this is mine, it kind of does become a part of your physiology.
Yeah.
Even if it's not yours, it becomes a part. It gets into that physiological level. And it can really be a problem you then try to solve your whole life.
Your
Like,
whole
why do I
life.
always feel this way? Or why do I have this physical symptom?
Right.
You end up trying to address it on that medical level, even when it's just energy that isn't yours, that you've been carrying around for so long.
For so long. Yeah. And as part of that self identity, it's hard to even allow it maybe to unravel.
Right. Because it doesn't feel safe. It's part of you now.
Part of you now.
Yeah,
It's
it
how
would be
you
very
understand it.
disorienting.
Apparently, this life is all about orientation.
When you can embrace the disorientation, then yes, you can unravel those old identities or those pockets of energy that you've been holding on to since who knows when, and really just let them go. But in that process of letting go, there's a lot of unraveling, a lot of disentangling.
That can feel like insanity too for
Yeah,
somebody.
it could feel like insanity.
I've had my moments. Absolutely.
And it could appear, if you're afraid of appearance of you, if you're afraid of how other people perceive you, you don't want to look insane. Yeah, you might not want to have that disorienting process of letting go.
Yeah,
Unless you can
and
laugh at yourself.
that's all you can do. But
And
I
not
love
take other
this.
people's judgment personally, right?
Right. That's a whole other thing, isn't it? This world that somehow does the judgment thing kind of easily
And really well, yeah.
and really well. I've signed up for Judgment 101.
Nailed judgment.
Yes.
We got that. Yes, everyone is a master in judgment.
Right. Especially when judgment can be as basic as I like that, I don't like that. Well, heck.
Right.
We learned that from babyhood. We know our experience of that.
Yeah.
So, we've been working that one our whole life.
Social media, we're supposed to have the
like
like
it,
and
the dislike it. Oh my word.
You've got to have an opinion about that.
Oh,
You've got to let the algorithm know what your preferences are.
algorithm. Are we living in an algorithm?
We
I
are
feel
living in
like
an
we're
algorithm.
living in an algorithm.
Fortunately, it is a friendly algorithm that you can train.
That's right.
Yes, you can be in charge of the algorithm, but only if you have great amusement and
Right.
neutrality. And neutrality meaning not judging everything.
Right.
Right. Not being for or against. Yes.
Yeah.
Because if we judge the algorithm, then we're not in charge anymore.
No, no. And we're, yeah.
You will be assimilated.
You will be assimilated. So just pack a lunch and prepare.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but I love what you said earlier too about being able to then see from our sixth chakra clairvoyant self, say about our emotions
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. It's so freeing and it's really where we're all headed.
Yeah.
It's an incredible sense of, like you said, neutrality. It's different when you're sitting in your clairvoyant, essentially your clairvoyant understanding of something.
Yeah.
Everything takes
Yeah.
on a whole different meaning, color.
Everything's different when you live your
Mhm.
life from that place. Every experience you perceive differently, you have a different awareness about, and a whole lot more information, I would say, that's useful.
Oh, yes.
When you live from that intuitive place. And you also have that clarity of where you're going, what you're doing, what you're here for. You have that clarity, even if you're going through a disorienting moment, or, even if the clouds are there, or there is still that clarity and that
Yes.
knowing.
And the more you do it, at least the clarity is, I know I'm in the middle of doing it, even if right now I don't know up from down.
Yeah, even in the midst of a growth period. Right, because oh, that's what's happening.
That's what's
This
happening.
energy's clear. I know this energy's clearing. I can see the energy and I know that it's moving out. But in the meantime, I'm experiencing it in my body. But there's still that clarity and that joy and that certainty and that freedom. It's so freeing to not take every experience as something personal or a problem to fix or a burden to carry or a puzzle to solve. It's just some energy passing.
And we have opportunities to practice it all the time.
All the
like when we're
time.
driving.
Yes. Oh, driving is a great practice.
It's
Or working with technology.
Right? But how many of us, I know many people would probably be familiar with that sense of you're driving and you just know
Yeah.
that person in the lane next to you, they haven't done anything yet and they haven't signaled anything yet, but you know from the energy you're looking at and their thought energy or whatever, they're going to pull in front of you. That's where they're aiming to go. And, when people start really tuning into how they've already been aware.
Yeah.
And it isn't hard, it isn't complicated, it's already been happening.
We all have this awareness. We just oftentimes, if we haven't reoriented towards operating from that place, we're not always listening to that intuitive self, or we're questioning it, second guessing it. I love the driving example because it's so practical and basic and yet so helpful and important.
Right?
Like, how helpful is it to just have that intuitive awareness when you're driving, so that it creates a lot more safety, actually, because this person's about to cut me off.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't have to get angry about it, but just
I was like, oh, yep, that's what I thought.
Yep, there they go.
And I knew that was going to happen, and then enjoy. Yay, me. I was aware ahead of time, and yay.
Yeah. And it's such a funny example, too, of recognizing when we don't listen to that intuitive self, like you get that intuitive hit, this person's going to cut me off or slow down, or there's going to be a slowdown here, or there's going to be a speed check here or whatever, and then we don't listen. And oopsie daisy.
Oopsie daisy. I mean, I've learned the same thing when I've decided to override the Google Maps lady. It's kind of the same thing. It's your inner Google Maps person,
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot more on point, your inner Google Maps.
Right. Yes. Oh my
I
goodness.
had a
And it's,
funny example of that
oh
where
yeah.
it was obvious that I should not listen to Google Maps, but I was driving on a mountain road and there was literally a sheer cliff to my left. And Google Maps said, turn left.
Turn left.
And I was like, I'm going to go with my intuition here. But fortunately, that was an obvious one. But yes, even with those not obvious ones, it's like, no, I'm getting to stay straight on this one.
Absolutely. So good. Yes, we're living this life as a spiritual being, and there are so many areas, right, in our whole mechanism that tell us things, that give us input, like your intuition and your staying straight here, even though your eyeballs also helped in that moment.
I love that. It is your whole inner beingness. There's this whole map within there that we get information from. And some people call it that feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Where maybe that's more like on a second or third chakra level, there's that information telling you, nope, that doesn't feel right, or that doesn't register as correct or safe.
Yeah.
And you get that knowing. And then sometimes it's more on just a certainty level. You just know. Sometimes it's you're hearing the information, right? Your clairaudience or your inner voice is speaking in a very clear way, or a guide is communicating with you. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's more on that inner listening level. There's so many ways.
There's so many ways. And I love the example you just described, because, I had this place at work, this particular job, for a little chunk of time. It was actually, I took this job in order to pay for my clairvoyant training.
Oh, wow.
So it's funny how that stuff answers the call for you.
Yes.
It was a completely different thing that I did that I wouldn't have ordinarily done, but I just knew that was there in order to help me get what I needed. So I would then go to my car oftentimes for lunch hour.
Yeah.
And I was so exhausted for some reason during that chapter of my life. I think that the intuitive training was also there's a lot of stuff involved.
There's a lot of heavy energy that starts to move.
Yeah. So I needed rest. So I would go in my car and I would tell whatever guide or angel that was watching out for me, I would tell that. This was before I had a cell phone, before cell phones. So I would show it the digital clock on my car, and I would say, when that says, 1:55 or whatever, I would show it. And then I'd say, please wake me up. And then I would pass out deeply into dream time. And then literally I would hear a voice say, Stephanie. And I would wake up and I'd look at the clock and it says 1:55. And I thought, thank you.
I love it.
Right?
You got your wake-up call.
Thank you for my wake-up call.
I love that. I had a similar experience, but it wasn't as conscious or intentional. It was just during the earlier days of my clairvoyant training. I was a single mom and I wanted to have an hour to meditate each day. So I just decided I need to wake up before my son so that I can have that time. So I know that I'll have that time, right, where he's occupied because he's still sleeping. And without trying, and I'm normally not someone who would naturally wake up super early, but during that time, I would hear a voice at about, it was probably 6 a.m. because I think he got up at 7. And it would be like, time to get up. It was always a very amusing, like...
Here we go.
It was always like a happy, like, here we go, And I would just wake up and be like, okay. And I would sit and ground and meditate and have that time to myself. And it was super important. And I would hear it. Yeah, I love that it came in. Well, I probably needed to hear it. I wouldn't have woken up. It's funny that it didn't occur to me to set an alarm. I was just like, I'll wake up because I had my guides helping me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very confident.
Yeah.
That was all in tune, and it was.
Yeah. I don't think I even had that conscious thought. I wasn't consciously asking my guides to wake me up. It was just like a decision, like I should get up early enough to have this time. And then my guides are like, looks like you need a little help with that. Let me help you out.
She needs some help, Bob. Let's stay in here.
Because probably not going to follow through on that without an alarm clock. It's just funny that it didn't occur to me to like use an external tool. I was just like, oh, it'll work out.
It'll work out. That right there, like the certainty that it's all aligned, I just love it.
Yeah.
But even with that, I think that's really fun, simple ways for people to be able to play with this.
Yeah.
And kind of just continue to entertain the idea that, yep, this is happening for you. This is happening with you. Whether it's that or it's, I'm just going to pretend I know where I'm going in my car, another car analogy. Sometimes that's fun. If you have a goal, well, I'm setting out to look for such and such or this kind of thing, and I'm hoping to find it out there in the shops or whatever. And I just, sometimes for fun, I'm just going to let intuition guide me. Yes. To turn left here and turn right there. Or sometimes what I love doing is saying, I want to come across what I'm supposed to come across, and I don't even know what it is.
Nice, vaguely specific. Vague. I'm going to come across what I need to come across.
And that I don't know what it is. And it happens.
Yes.
This is all playful. There's no reason it can't be playful.
I love it. I love these examples of how to just play with getting yourself familiar with your intuition and with trusting your intuition and with just being playful with your intuition. Like, what can I discover today that I might not be aware of yet that's going to be really helpful or supportive or just what I need, and
love that.
Following your intuition step by step.
Yeah. Kind of invites that inner listening or that inner tuning in.
Yeah.
Which is great. Fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, life is fun.
It's supposed to be fun, and it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be like drudgery and certainly not punishing. But it is when we don't follow that intuitive awareness. It becomes pretty heavy.
Right?
I can say from experience and also just from observing in the world around me. Yeah. When folks are living from a different space, we could say a more intellectually run or just ego run or body personality run. There's a lot of effort. It's very heavy. It's very serious. It's very hard. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of fear.
Yep.
And that fear is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It creates more of itself.
Yep, I would agree with that. Yeah. Sometimes I notice it as somebody's not aware they're always trying to outrun that inner message that says they're horrible or they suck or, that's never true.
Right.
But it creates a certain pattern in your life when that's always what you're trying to outrun.
Yeah, it creates a baseline anxiety where you get so familiar to operate from that baseline anxiety that you don't even recognize there's another way. You can experience life without that anxiety. Or it becomes medicalized, right? And so you've got to, this is just part of who you are, or you got dealt a bad hand. Or something. And then, and then it's a problem to solve and fix on a medical level or on a mental health level when really there's just some very untrue programming within the mind. I love that example of outrunning a thought of you're not good enough or you suck.
You're not good enough is a very much better way to say it.
All the words.
But
yeah, that's one way that we interpret it. But it operates on that subconscious level because it's not like you necessarily walk around thinking those words all the time. I mean, some people might actually be aware of that and believe it, but it's usually just below the surface, so you don't recognize it. But it creates that anxiety and that constant running away from that, chasing something else.
Yes, it's like its own propulsion system. It's pretty amazing when we're on this path of allowing the more truthful awareness to be aware of it. And I know we've probably both know people, and anybody watching, when there is those people that really need to have life stop them in their tracks so that they have to surrender that pattern.
Yeah.
To have some kind of at least a shift in a reorientation.
Right.
Welcome to
it's
reorientation.
Like a forced reorientation.
Welcome to reorientation.
Yeah. Time for a reorientation. How about a health crisis
How about a
or
health crisis?
a job
Exactly.
crisis
Yep.
or some sort of like the rug gets pulled out from under you type of situation.
Right. And what I know we have observed for those people is they literally then have run out of whatever that is that there's their go-to.
Right.
It's no longer available,
Yeah.
and either that or it doesn't work. So now I'm completely out of options. I surrender. I give up,
Yeah.
whatever that
Yeah.
is. Sometimes
Tried
I
everything
see it
and
like a popped balloon.
yeah.
You got to let that balloon pop.
Yeah. And when you surrender, which means letting go of the fear and really just allowing and trusting there's light at the end of this tunnel, because you might feel like you're in a really dark space. Oh, it might feel hopeless. It might feel like all the things I've tried before aren't working. So it's a total fail, right?
It's a total fail.
I'm a total fail. Right. More encouraging mental structures to unravel. But when you surrender, it's like, okay, there's light at the end of this tunnel.
There is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And
emerge into a new space. Yeah, it requires total just letting go of those old habits of how you would manage or run away from, right?
right.
Yeah.
And those old tapes, and something comes to mind for me right now that I know I had walked myself through, because we all are subject to even some kind of negative thought pattern that we're not aware of. And so I decided to let myself become aware of a certain pattern, and I became aware of it. And then once I was aware, I kind of got into this agreement with myself that, okay, when I hear my inner voice saying that to me about me, it's sort of like pressing stop on the tape recorder. Remember tape recorders?
Yeah.
That
I love it. We're showing our age here, right?
I hit
stop.
Pause or stop. And so it's truly amazing, Jean, how that transformed something for me, because I didn't realize how much it was almost like it was its own separate entity, like a drill sergeant in the army or something, very hard, heavy energy, not kind,
not
and
very
always
nice.
yelling it in my ear.
Yeah.
And so that when I made that agreement with myself that, okay, once I become aware of it, I'm going to hit stop. And what I did was, so every day when I would become aware of it, sometimes, oh my gosh, I realized I'd let drill sergeant do this to me all day long. And I finally was aware of it at 5 p.m. and I hit stop. But the more I was in agreement and aware, so then the awareness starts to come online, because now I'm in relationship with myself and with my awareness of what I'm being aware of.
Yeah.
I caught it sooner every day. I'd catch it, by noon, and then by 10 a.m. or whatever. And then I realized one day, hey, where'd drill sergeant go?
Yay, drill sergeant went away.
Drill sergeant went away. And I even had a moment of looking for drill sergeant. And I'm like, I had to catch myself there too, because that's that analyzer part of you that wants to have the pattern be familiar. And I was like, this is what we already agreed we're letting go of. So don't go searching for it.
Right. But maybe that part of you that felt like that was familiar or safe to have drill sergeant Bob there with you all day. Oh, where'd you go? That was the reorientation process.
Right. And
your new identity as free drill sergeant Bob.
Thank you for your service. Not really.
Right. And thank you for your service. Right? You can thank them. And I love that process with letting go. It's like you didn't go into a battle with drill sergeant Bob, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't have to put forth a whole bunch of effort. You could recognize with that awareness that you can let go of any internalized drill sergeant Bob, right?
Yeah.
Because if you were trying to get rid of drill sergeant Bob from the same energy that he was, directing those unkind thoughts with, it would just become like you're beating yourself up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like more of the nasty energy, you're not doing this well.
You are not doing this well. And it should be do it again with more feeling.
Yeah. Get down the ground. And so so it was a letting go. With letting go, there isn't any effort, right? To let go, literally, you just there's no effort in that.
No effort.
It's a decision.
Yes, it's a decision.
That's all it is.
And something you referred to earlier, it also enabled me to get more familiar, situated with my seniority, because in that moment, I was the one making the decision, and I was the one telling that tape to stop.
Yeah.
And it stopped. And when we're in that other place that you're talking about, where we might then feel we are the victim of all this stuff, it is out of our control and we are disempowered.
Yeah. And then we battle that energy rather than just making a decision and letting it go.
Yes.
We're in that disempowered place, so we're struggling, we're fighting against it, we want to get rid of it, and it just doesn't work.
And that's what I love about what we're talking about today, because that's also a natural aspect of our reality as a spiritual being. We are in the seat of our seniority. It's ours.
Yeah.
And we get to be aware of that.
Yeah, when we're operating from our spirit self, we're in charge. We are empowered because we are really power itself. Our spiritual being is power.
Beautiful.
It's not that power like that we might associate with how we see power used in the world in terms of force or control.
Right.
It's having control in terms of being senior, but not forcing that will upon others, or just really having our space and owning it.
Yeah.
And making a decision.
And that's a very beautiful, powerful place.
It is.
But you're right. And I think there are lots of sensitives, of course, who that would be one of the first things one might think about or be fearful of is, oh, but I don't want to ever overpower somebody. I don't ever want to tell somebody what to do or whatever.
I don't want to hurt others.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt others. And I think there's a lot of sensitives. I know I can speak for myself as well, that we've kind of been given the message that, what's that wonderful phrase? You're too much.
Yeah. You're either not enough or you're too much.
Too much.
Not just right.
You're never just right.
Goldilocks was a great story.
Totally true.
Yeah, you're too much. Right.
Yes.
If you come in, sometimes I say, if you come in hot and heavy as a soul, like with all that power and all that light, when you're born, and then maybe your family or your surroundings are just like, whoa. Yeah, you
turn that down.
Message frequently that you're too much.
You're too much, turn it down.
Yeah.
Too much joy, turn it down, please.
Too much awareness, turn it down.
Turn it down.
You're listening telepathically a little bit too much, turn it down.
Turn it down.
That's a little frightening. That's a little disturbing. Are you disturbing?
Ah.
Have you been too disturbing? Does your existence disturb others?
Then you might want to try.
Try being clairvoyant.
Being clairvoyant.
You'll continue to disturb others, but you won't have any problem with it.
You'll be gently amused.
Yeah.
And compassionate, and let them have their experience.
Yes. I love it.
Yes. And that seems like that's part of the reorientation, isn't it? As we keep tuning in and having this aspect of ourselves be more in the driver's seat, it is such a reorientation of that as well. Letting people, because especially for healers, it's been hard to let people have their experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I can share a maybe more extreme story of that for myself, but even as recently as 5 years ago, when I was helping my mom, was her caregiver, walking her to the end of her life. Mm-hmm. Part of that included that she had to be in a rehab facility, say 3 or 4 different durations of that as the end was coming. And one day in that final facility she was in, I was so exhausted. I had work as well as being, it was the only child as it happens. Mm-hmm. And so there was just a lot I was taking on. Yeah. And I'm walking into the lobby for my visit that day when it literally, I feel like it was my guides and perhaps my own inner voice to me. Yeah. It was sort of like almost got, bonked on the 6th chakra with this piece of awareness that said, boink, she is having her experience and you need to get out of her way.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was aware this person is vulnerable. This person is in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Of course, we love our people and we
Yeah.
want to care for them when they're vulnerable and all of those things. But
Yeah.
what I was aware of at that more spirit beingness soul level was my soul was trying to keep her from having anything that was an experience that wouldn't be nice.
Yeah. You were
And
trying
so
to protect her from her
protect her.
pain. Yeah.
Yes. So that was a really big message that bonked me on the head and said, of course you love her, but you need to step aside energetically and let her have her experience.
Yeah.
And it was a big awareness. It was a big aha. It gave me even a little bit more of myself back to myself because I needed that. I was so depleted anyway.
Yeah. It's a lot of energetic effort to protect someone from their pain. It's like you're enshrouding their energy space with your own energy, and trying to hold on. And that's very draining. Yeah.
Right. And of course, I could do the things on the human level of making sure she's cared for in certain ways, but I couldn't make sure she never had a fearful thought or an unhappy thought.
Yeah.
And those were the things that, Spirit gave me that big hello that day. And it really was such a huge transformative experience.
It's huge. Yeah. And something familiar probably to every healer or caring person. I use the word healer and some people might not identify with that word, but deeply caring, sensitive souls. When you see someone that you love that's in pain, it's difficult to let them have that pain. We want to protect them from that pain. We want to help them not experience that, but it is their own experience to have. And in being able to have that experience, they gain their own wisdom as a soul and their own awareness in terms of who they really are in relationship to what they're experiencing.
Yes.
Yeah, that can be a difficult process to surrender and let them have that. But that's beautiful that you got that message and then recognized, oh, look at how much energy I'm getting back. I don't have to try to put my energy into protecting her from that pain. And then you got some more of your power back and your energy, your physical energy too. And creative energy, healing energy. Yeah.
It's true. And I can appreciate that I am not a parent, but I can appreciate for parents that might be a very hard recipe to follow.
Yeah.
Depending on what's going on for one's child.
Yeah, it's a lot to navigate as a parent, like when it's a fine line between, how much energy to give. Because when children are quite young, we do give them a lot of our really soul energy, etheric energy, just in supporting them in that growth process of coming into the body. And then it's this process of discerning when and how much to let go to give them their own space to be as they get older and older and establish themselves in the body and establish their own energy field and create for themselves. So navigating, like, are we holding on out of our own fear, or what is ours to support them in solving for them, and what is ours to just be a witness and boundary holder, space holder.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other level of aware parenting. That's such a gift.
But having that with our own parents too, in the later years as our parents are aging and passing on, it's a similar kind of relationship where the parent becomes the child in a way, completely different way, but in that caregiving, holding space for. There's a similar relationship dynamic there of you're the one in the position of caring for and holding space for. Mom as she passed. Yeah. It's beautiful that you got to have that experience with her. And that she has an aware daughter.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just, I love this conversation because it's just really, it's revealing, hopefully, to anybody listening there, what they get to have, hopefully, is their own experience of, I know that. Yeah. Oh, I know that. I know that too, yes.
Look at all the things I know.
Look at all the things I already am aware of that are already happening and true in me. That's wonderful. Yay to that. More of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what we often say as teachers of clairvoyance is like, we're just here to give you those gentle reminders. Like, you already know this, right? Everyone's already clairvoyant. It's an ability we have as a soul. It's just how much have you brought that ability into your body? How much have you cultivated the awareness that you have here in your body mind so that you can navigate from that place. Right. But as a teacher, it's not really teaching the how or the mechanics. It's a little bit of that, but it's more just reminders. Look at what you already are. Pointing out, oh yeah, look at that.
Yep.
Look at how clairvoyant you are.
Look at how clairvoyant you are. Reminders, and our other word of the day apparently is reorientation.
Reorienting.
Right? Because this world
is very disorienting.
Woo! Right? We jumped into a big disorientation station.
Yes. Reincarnated, and it's like, whoa. Everything's upside down and inverted and backwards and convoluted and complexified, yes.
Oh, the utter complexification.
Yes, the over complexification. It couldn't be more complexified.
Right. And I mean, I know we're familiar with this word too, permission. I feel like part of anybody who's offering the hello, the, awareness pointers, it's really creating the space for permission.
Yes.
Where this world doesn't have the permission to become sort of like regrouping or re-owning your awareness that you always had. Yeah. You jump into this earth suit.
Yeah.
And you get to remember.
Who we are.
Who we are. And yes, hopefully somebody finds a teacher who is promoting the permission of it, them finding their own truth and their just, reorienting themselves to their own aware self. Yeah. And their own answers and wisdom.
Permission is so important to remember because sometimes the world is very overt in its non-permission, right? There is a lot of that don't look, don't see, don't be aware energy, even if the direct messaging might not be that overt. It's more the indirect messaging with lots of distraction and lots of invalidation and lots of fear, right, of anything related to intuition and psychic awareness. That's scary stuff.
Scary stuff, man.
But there's so many subtle levels of non-permission, right? Which include just the invalidation, like that doesn't even exist, right? That's not a thing.
Right. That's not a thing.
That's not a thing.
Right. Well, prove it to me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll believe it's a thing.
You gotta, show me the science.
Show me the science.
And I'm like, there is the science, right? Like, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, like all of that, there is science on it. It's just I'm not interested in proving it. So you can reference the quantum physicists on all of this.
All you want.
Yeah.
But my guide still woke me up for my alarm. That's all I know.
Yes, exactly. I have seen the clouds part enough to know that they will continue.
Yep.
Statistically speaking, we're on track. We're on track.
We're on track. And that's beautiful too, when somebody finally gets that reorientation in themselves, like we were saying earlier, where they can finally go, oh yeah, I'm having a hard time, but some part of me remembers. Yeah. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
These clouds shall part.
Yes. The clouds become entertaining rather than like, oh no, where did the sun go? It's just, look at those shades in the clouds.
Look at those shades.
An impressive shade of gray.
Right? There's all sorts of ways we can find our amusement about those clouds. Like the barking dog next door.
Lightning bolts coming through. That tornado really looks like it's coming right at me.
Right at me. That's hilarious.
Go step aside. Create something new. Thank you, Stephanie, for chatting chatting with me about all the psychic tools and amusement and really the reorientation process, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, this has been so fun. My pleasure always to talk with you.
I will remember now with your reminders and your hello to driving and just being in the center of your head when you're driving, being in that clairvoyant intuitive space when you're driving, which I usually do practice, but it also seems to be when I like update my to-do list. There's a lot going on my like psychic creative to-do list, grounding different things. And yeah.
Oh, is that what you're doing when you're driving?
Driving is a multitasking situation. It's not to say I'm not fully present with what's happening here, but my creative mind is also, because I'm not doing something else that takes a lot of the physical energy. I'm not gripping the wheel that intensely.
Oh, I know what you mean. I really wish I got in the habit of bringing like a digital recorder with me or something, because that's when I get a lot of creative ideas.
Yes, a lot of downloads come in when you're driving.
Downloads. Oh my gosh, I had this most hilarious download. Well, could say it was hilarious, but I was driving to work one day and I can't even tell you if I had been thinking something in that more background part of my awareness. But all of a sudden, Jean, so I'm driving along and woof, on my inner screen, it's the universe.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's showing me like a spiral with a me in every row of the spiral. A me. And as I'm looking at that, I'm just getting this understanding based on, my own sense of things. It's not necessarily that the visual was, putting arrows and instructions, but it was just this understanding. This image was saying that I could decide something. The choices I make had determined which of those parts of the spiral I was in.
Wow.
Let's say it like that. And then it went away and I'm like, and I'm driving and still moving. And I just kind of said, okay, for whoever gave me that slideshow, I'd love you to wait till the car stops. Because it was it was a full screen takeover.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was like my most extreme.
Park first.
We park first, then you can show me everything you want to show me about the universe.
Yeah, those spiritual downloads really come in. I mean, if it happens to be the most quiet moment of the day, sometimes, the most clear-minded.
Yeah.
You got your, your single focus on the road there, and then.
I'm just glad body knew what it was doing, right?
Yeah.
And I know people have probably had their own experience of, you know what? I know that I know how to get home from here, but I don't remember driving every step of the way. And all of a sudden here I am in my driveway.
Right. Like, I just got home, but I think I was somewhere else.
Thank goodness that other part of me knows how to get here.
Yeah, that autopilot self for when most of us take off and go somewhere else, get pulled out, right?
Yep, right. Yep, get pulled out on a mission or something.
A little soul project going on over here. Yeah, rescue mission.
This is a fun, miraculous space to play in.
Yay.
Isn't it?
Thank you, Stephanie, for joining me.
Thank you so much. I love what you're offering here to the ones you're having conversations with, and for everyone who gets to watch these conversations. There's a lot going on here.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing it with everyone.
It's a rich space. And we use words.
And we used words today. We did use words today.
That's some of what we do. We use words, but they're helpful.
Because those can be recorded.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a very quiet video.
It can be recorded. So in this venue, we use words.
But I can't wait to see the video where you're all telepathy.
I know. We could offer that. We could record a video that is simply telepathic with some giggles and laughter.
There'll be plenty of giggles.
Transmission of light.
Yep. Oh,
yes. And we can use words. Yes.
Yep.
It's a good practice. Thank you for using words with me today.
Thank you for making words with me today.
We might even expanded our vocabulary a little. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Created
can't wait
some
to.
new words. Mhm. Aw.
All
Thank
right.
you so much,
Thank
Stephanie, and thank
you.
you everyone for joining us. We will see you next time on The Higher Vibe.
Bye.
Yay! Bye! Hello! Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.